Now then, crew, welcome back to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel, and this hopefully will be a very short video showing you how to fit a brand new battery to your ATV. Now this is a very old but very tidy Honda Big Red 300cc. I think it's called an FW is the model. I'm not entirely sure of the year, to be honest, but it's incredibly good condition. It really is. But the battery isn't. This is the old battery, and on the previous video we did a bit of testing and stuff on the bike to find out that the battery was faulty. So if you want to know that, I'll put you a link at the end of this video on how to watch that one. Fitting a new battery it's quite a simple job, but connecting the terminals and making sure they're nice and tight and getting the battery the correct way around and all that kind of stuff is important. I'm a great fan of the UASA batteries. I'm not a fan of these Motobats. That's just my personal preference. We did have one, however, that was on Mrs. Mechanic's Yamaha SR125 that came from the UK that had a Motobat battery in it. And the battery, believe it or not, still had enough charge in it after 6 years of being parked to start that bike. Unbelievable. I was absolutely astounded. However, the vast majority of Motobats that I've come across and the ones that I've had myself have all failed pretty early on. So I wouldn't recommend them, to be honest. It's a bit hit and miss. UASA, yes, they're a lot more money, but they're a much better quality battery. Don't cheap out on batteries. You rely on that battery to start your vehicle. Make sure you get a good one. Okay, without further ado, let's take a look in the box, see the instructions with the Motobat battery, and get this battery fitted to this ATV. Here we go. Used.
You don't paint something without warning.
Honestly. Right, said Fred. Let's have a look. I've not been in here yet. This was supplied by the customer. I didn't go out and buy a Motobat, so please don't give me any grief over that. Okay, that's good. Comparing it to the old battery, the terminals are a bit different, which is a good thing. Okay, we've got the battery and we've got some little height adjusting plates. Okay, let me ungrab the old battery again and show you what I mean by these terminals being different. You might notice that this battery's got 4 terminals. That's because the Motobat's sort of a multi-fit style range of batteries where one model of their battery will fit a number of different applications. And to do that, they've put, you know, the 2 pairs of terminals so you can turn the battery round if your wires don't quite fit. On the original battery, you can see that these terminals are all sunken down, and you had to use stupid little adapters like these to try and bring them up to connect your cables. And these were the things that I really hated, because they often work loose and you get points of poor contact and all sorts of stuff. So I'm really chuffed that they've moved away from that now. Well done, Motobat. Most impressive. Now, as regards the terminals, bring the old battery back. We've got this side of the battery was in use, and you can see that the little bungs have been removed. So we're going to need to use these 2. That's the correct orientation for terminals. So we'll take those off, little protectors. And in the bag, we've got some new hardware, which is basically, it's pretty standard to most batteries. Even UASA use this style. These slide in there. That gives us our threads. They go in there. Look, because it's automatically risen and it's the same height as the battery, the original loom terminals should go on here really easily. We don't need the old battery anymore. And we've got some little spacers here. Look, what they're for. Probably to try and space it out just in case the bolt bottom's out. So we'll stick that in there for now, just while we go over to the bike. Same with that one. I think we'll have to use those. It's very important at this point in time, if you're refitting an old battery, to make sure that these terminals are nice and clean, because you need a really good contact. Especially if your vehicle's got electric start, it's going to draw some pretty hefty current, and any kind of corrosion or well, anything really, poor contact, anything that causes poor contact will act as a resistor, and it'll limit the amount of current that this battery can deliver, and that can result in, slow cranking or no cranking at all, actually, to your engine. Right, there we go. That's all we get. We get these, and we get the battery. So we might need to put these in if the battery doesn't sit high enough in its little holder on the bike. Now, normally when you receive a battery, off the shelf, you go and buy a nice shiny new one, they're not fully charged. It's always a good idea to put the battery onto a charger for a few hours and make sure it's fully charged before you fit it to the bike. Right, let's go and take a look and see if we need those height plates or not. Now, on the loom, we've got the main positive feed, which goes to the starter solenoid, and then from there into the loom. And then we've got the main ground. Now these are a little bit on the grubby side, so I need to give those a bit of a wire brush. But before I do that, let's just pop the battery in and see where it sits and how it works with the battery clamp, because we can't leave the battery just loose in the bike. It needs to be clamped into place. Now this is the Honda clamp, and it bolts down here and here. It also holds the rear plastics down at the same time, so it's important that it's fitted. And you can see here there's a rubber at the back there, look, to hold it down. I think the rubber there is missing, it's disappeared. We'll see if we can find some kind of a grommet to go in there. But there's a huge air gap, and that battery is going to rattle up and down, and that's a bad thing for a battery. They don't like vibrations, so I think we should maybe fit both of those little plates and see how it sits then. It still may not be enough, to be honest. Batteries are always a bit awkward to get in and out, so forgive me. There we go. Right. So we've got these adapter plates that go on the bottom, so they should clip onto the battery itself. There we go. We'll drop it down there. They may not be enough, actually. I don't know. It doesn't look like it. So we'll drop those down. That's now brought the battery up a little bit in height. And very carefully, because we want to short the battery out, we'll put that back into place. Is that enough? Actually, it's not bad. It's not bad. It is actually making contact with the battery now. So, if I can find another rubber boot piece to go in there, that should do the trick. Excellent. That's good news. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I'd have to find some foam to go in there. Okay, so I've got some work to do. I've got to clean up these terminals really well. So it's time for a wire brush. Okie dokie. And remember to clean both sides of the terminal as well, don't just do one side. And yes, you're bound to wire brush your fingers. That's just part of the job, unfortunately. That's good for that side. Let's just twizzle it round. And if you want to keep your other hand out of the way, you can always use a pair of pliers. My fingers are sort of used to this kind of stuff now, so. If you haven't got a wire brush, sandpaper will also work. There we go. That's lovely and clean. Very, very good. I like that. And now for this one. This is a bit of a shorter lead, so it's a bit more awkward to do, but we'll just push that protective boot down out of the way for now. Come on, mister, you can do it. There we go. So we don't damage that boot whilst doing the cleanup. Excellent. And these are the original terminals on the loom. Nobody's had to cut them off and replace them and things, so that's actually really good. I'm going to get some pliers, hang on, just to help, because this one's a bit awkward to work with. pretty good. Right, I think we're about there with that one. Almost. Just get those other bits cleaned up. Cool. Okay, now we need a posi screwdriver. This one will do. Now, when you connect the terminals, always connect the positive one first for safety reasons. Okay. And we need to just pull that boot back up, don't we? So that's going to slot on a bit easier later on. There we go. Okay, now that will push down nicely out of the way, and hopefully it's going to sit on that terminal. Yes, there we go. Got the bolt with the washer on it, and we can tighten that one down for now. There we go. Make sure that it's correctly orientated on the actual terminal of the battery, and don't over tighten it. You can actually tear the mount on the batteries if you go gorilla on it. What you can do is hold it in place with a pair of pliers, just so you don't bend the mount, but you can give it a good tweak. There we go. That's good and tight, and that's how it needs to be. We'll leave the boot off for now because we're going to put some dielectric grease on there. Okay, now this one goes on that way round. So we'll do the same on this side. Now, you may wonder what these additional wires are for. These are for a spraying unit that's no longer used on the bike, so I'm not going to connect those. We'll just tuck those out of the way when we're finished. There we go. Right. We'll drop that down there. You can see there's a little cutout in the plastic just there, look, for it to sit in. Get the bolt in there. This is a lot easier than the old style motor bats. They were a nightmare to work with. I used to hate fitting them. I fitted loads of them over the years for customers' bikes because customers didn't want to pay for the proper UASA battery that came with the bike when it was new, you know. It's a bit annoying. Right, I'm just going to hold that in place with the pliers. There we go, good and tight. Excellent. Okay, so we'll just tuck all these wires out of the way. That's nothing to do with me. That's all customer stuff. There we go. That's not too bad at all. Okay, this one doesn't have a boot on it, which is fine because it's the negative. It doesn't need a boot. But this one has the positive boot on there, which we'll flip over in a second. Let me go and find that spray that we need. Okay, we're going to use the Forge S421 dielectric grease. Yeah, silicon spray grease. If you haven't got any silicon spray grease or dielectric grease, then just some normal grease will help. It just basically prevents atmosphere, oxygen getting to these terminals and causing corrosion, because permanently live terminals always corrode. You get the green crusties, which is not good. You don't need a lot. Give it a little spray up. There we go. Perfect. That will do the trick. And then we can pull that boot over the top, and that's where it's going to sit, just to help prevent any kind of shorting out.
So, what's next, Andy?
Now, I need to go and find a grommet to fit in there. I'll be back shortly. There we go. It's a little bit thicker than the other one. It'd be ideal if I had two of those, but hey, it'll do the trick. And I'll let the owner know that really you should find the proper one. Okay, so a couple of new bolts. I'll stick that one in there without dropping it, hopefully. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Well done, Honda, for putting your rack in exactly the place directly above where the bolt goes in. You can see why mechanics hate engineers, can't you? Right, that's that one in. Now, I did contemplate using cap head bolts for this, but again, there's more likelihood that somebody will have a spanner out on the trail than they will, you know, an Allen key. So, as a result, I decided to default to using bolts. But an Allen key head, what we call a cap head, would actually have been better. So that's going to apply a little bit of preload to that bar and just stop that battery from jumping around. So it is important that when you refit or fit a new battery that you do have something to hold the battery in place, because hey, if it jumps around and shorts out, plus the bouncing around in itself can damage the internals of the battery. There we go, that's that one. Don't need to go gorilla, but these bolts do also hold the rear plastics as well. So it's not just the battery holder. Okay, so under there, we're all good. It's all been sprayed. The bolts are nice and tight. The battery can't move around. And now Honda, believe it or not, even give us a little battery cover, which is absolutely brilliant. And that pops down there with 2 more bolts that go in there. So I'll go and get some nice new ones for that. Now, I imagine the original bolts that went into here had a little shoulder on them. So you tighten them up so far, and then they can't go any further. That way it doesn't crush the plastic. I don't have any, so we'll just have to use standard bolts and be a little bit careful about how tight we do them. I have used a flanged bolt, which matches the OE spec stuff. Right, there we go. It may not have even had any bolts in here previously, but we don't want that cover jumping around. Oh yeah, it's nipped up pretty well actually. Quite happy with that. Okay, well, we better give it a try, see if it starts. Okay, fingers crossed. You ready? Here we go. Yeah. You can't beat a classic old Honda, can you? It's hot boy. Good job, mate. Right, back to the bench. Now, hopefully you found this short video helpful on giving you a few tips and tricks on how to install a new battery to an ATV. Similar kind of process really to a motorcycle or even an RoV, or for that matter, a car or a four-wheel drive. They're all the same basic principle. Make sure the battery's bolted in nice and tight, not too tight obviously, but also very important to make sure that the terminals are clean and tight and protected with that spray. If you've not yet subscribed to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel, why not click on subscribe? Ring the bell so YouTube will send you a notification as and when I upload any new videos. And there's almost 900 videos already on the channel on doing ATV, motorcycle, trailer, all sorts of repairs. So you may well find some of the other videos really helpful too. Now, you'll also find me on Facebook, and you can email me directly if you like, which is andymechanic@live.co.uk. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do that through Patreon, or you can do it through PayPal. Now, if you choose the PayPal option, be sure not to click the donation button. I'm not a registered charity. You have to send it as a payment. And a few bucks goes a long way in this little workshop. It sure does, and it helps to make a few more videos for other people. If, however, you want to support the channel in different ways, you can send things to my PO Box address, which is PO Box 6265, I had to think then, 6265 Victoria Street West, and that's in Auckland, New Zealand, and the postcode is 1142. That's down in the description of this video if you want to just double check you've got it right. You can send whatever you like, just an old tool or something you want me to showcase on the channel, or just, a letter, an old school letter if you like. I do read those out now and again on the live streams. The other way that you can help is by sharing this video on your social media, and that helps to get a few more viewers onto the channel, and maybe it'll help one or two more of them as well. Okay crew, well that's it from me on this video. I'll see you next time. Cheers, over and out. And you get the flip again.
Oh!
Really.